This episode of Creating Wellness Podcast is sponsored by Incredible Edibles in Hickory, North Carolina. Incredible Edibles is the best place to visit to get great tasting food and drinks that benefit your overall wellness. Incredible Edibles offers frozen yogurt, smoothies, and kombucha on tap with a broad array of healthy benefits and snacks and the best CBD products from around the country. Come visit us at our brick and mortar location in the beautiful Holler Mill, where we have COVID-friendly personalized service that includes safe in-store shopping, curbside pickup, and limited distance same-day delivery. Or you can visit us online at incredibleedibles.com for online shopping, interesting blog posts, and more information about Incredible Edibles. So welcome to the Creating Wellness Podcast. I'm really happy to be here. I'm Fran Parody, and I'm the host of the podcast. And in general, I think we are all searching for ways to improve our overall wellness. We want to feel energized, happy, engaged in life, and engaged with other people. And often pain, exhaustion, anxiety, depression, physical discomfort, all of those things get in the way of us feeling good and reaching those wellness goals. My guest today is an amazing woman. Her name is Dr. Elizabeth Beadle, and she has a goal and a purpose in life, and that is to help people attain the best possible health over their lifetime. So this isn't just kind of a quick fix or a goal. This is over the lifetime. She started her practice 21 years ago in Hickory. It's called Healing for Life, and she's been helping people reach their wellness goals ever since. So welcome.
Thank you.
Elizabeth.
Thank you for having me, Fran.
I'm so excited to hear all of the things you have to teach us today, because it's just your wealth of information.
Well, thank you. I'm so excited.
Deep and broad. So would you want to start off with telling us a little bit about your practice and also maybe about the journey that got you here?
Sure. It's a chiropractic practice with, I'm an acupuncturist as well. And we've been there for 21 years. So it's been a journey. So we've had, I opened my practice in Hickory, North Carolina. And, it's been my mission and goal to help people with their wellness journey. People come in for pain, but really they need to, the problem is within the nervous system, with their physiology, their lifestyle, and just helping them learn how to create wellness. Perfect. Through self-care, through the nervous system, through balancing the physiology. And anyways, there's so many fun things to talk about.
Yeah, right. And so, I think you're right that people generally don't go to the doctor or don't go to see anybody unless they're kind of in crisis or they have something that's just been nagging them. It's, flaring up again and hurting. So there's, I would imagine most of the people who come into your practice have kind of an acute thing that they want fixed, and then they think, okay, fix it and go on.
Exactly. That's very common. And they come in with pain a lot of the times, and pain is just a symptom, right? So it's the straw that broke the camel's back. So what was all the precursors? Has it been a bad diet? Did they have injuries along the way? Do they have poor posture? Are they on the computer all day long? What has gone on in their life and their lifestyle that's gotten them to this point? So we dig into that. And really, through x-rays, we see what alignment's like. We see what's going on with their nervous systems. So much of what's called the vagus nerve, which is the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the healing part of the nervous system, really affects how well this body works and if it heals. So it's like if you have the parasympathetic nervous system or the vagus nerve is not functioning well, and the fight or flight, the sympathetic, is going hog wild because you're stressed, you have all these kids going on, you're working 10 hours a day, you're on the computer, you're sitting, you're not moving. You can't have the gas and the brakes on at the same time. And so people get sick, and they don't realize why they're sick as far as their bodies are concerned.
Right. Okay. So let's back up a little bit because I think you said a lot in that in that statement. Okay. So you have the vagus nerve, which is the sympathetic.
That's the parasympathetic nervous system, the healing part of the nervous system.
Okay. And you want that to be activated when you're sick or when you have an injury.
So the nervous system should be balanced. It's called the autonomic nervous system. And if it's out of balance, that's when you get sick.
Okay. So if it's kind of in overdrive.
Correct. Yes.
Then it doesn't work right. And there's things that we do every day during the day that get it into overdrive, whether it is, trying to manage 500 things at once or sitting all day or not eating well.
Yeah, exactly. So, the vagus nerve or the parasympathetic nervous system, it's kind of trendy these days. A lot of people have heard about it, is in the upper cervical spine and in the sacrum, in the lower part of the nerve of the spine. And we can use chiropractic adjustments to really help activate that parasympathetic or the vagus nerve, which is super cool. And so then we can balance that autonomic nervous system and then get people into a healing state as opposed to a survival state.
Okay. So when they come into your office and they say, I continually get sinus infections or I'm feeling anxious all the time. I mean, we will talk about the array of things that you can help with. But right now, I'm trying to kind of figure out the process. So someone comes in and they say, gosh, I am getting sinus infections every month and it's, exhausting. You can then, you do a full body workout, like just kind of.
Yeah. So, when someone comes in, we'll do a history, we'll do x-rays usually. And I also do a scan, which measures heart rate variability and the autonomic nervous system. And so with that information, we can tell if their nervous system is out of balance. And then from there, we can be like, these nerves and this part of the nervous system is affecting your sinuses or whatever is going on.
Okay.
So it's the nervous system first that affects pain, symptoms. And if that nervous system isn't working at its best potential, this body cannot work at its best potential, no matter what you do, diet or exercise or medicine or whatever it is.
Right. Okay. So the nervous system is all down the spine, like it's all connected to the spine and the brain.
Yes.
And so when you make adjustments in the spine, that then can either
it stimulates that nervous system and gets it unblocked or there's when the nervous system is not functioning well, it just people say a pinched nerve, but It's not really a pinched nerve. It's just a blockage. It's a incomplete function of that nervous part of the nervous system.
So the nerves are kind of like tentacles, right? They kind of go out all over the place. And so when someone refers to a blocked nerve, can you see that? Like, can you see where it's disconnected or there's a skip in it or?
Sure. It's called a subluxation. And a subluxation is the part of the spine that's out of alignment. And you can see that on x-ray for sure. People often, will take an x-ray of their neck and you can see how their head is shifted from one side to the other. And your brainstem is at the top of your spine, and same with that vagus nerve. And, you see their head shifted on their neck and be like, oh, your head's not on straight. And so they're like, they're like, I knew that. The light bulb goes off. Like, oh my gosh, that is what's been going on, but I didn't know that.
Right. So they feel like something's off. They can kind of feel.
Yeah. Or the pictures. My head is always crooked in pictures. That's really common. Yeah. And that's a really common comment.
And so then is there kind of an immediate relief when you can make that adjustment and get their head back on straight?
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of times people are like, oh, like the light turns on, or their posture. You should see the before and after postures of many people. And all of a sudden they can breathe because the nerves go to your lungs. So yeah, that's super common.
And so I would imagine this takes more than one adjustment, right? Like anything else, if we've been doing something the same way for years, then one adjustment isn't going to make us undo it.
No, you're
way.
Exactly right. It's your habits are huge. Right. So we'll talk about your habits and see what the root cause is. Why are you like this? And so, yes, we can fix the problem that we see, but now we have to find out why it's there, and we have to dig into that too. So
that's hugely comprehensive.
Yeah, it's super cool. It's so much fun, and it's just really neat to see people when they're like, "Oh, that totally makes sense. I just didn't have any idea."
So actually, this is a funny story. The day after you and I met for lunch, I was getting my hair cut, and another hairdresser was walking by. She's like, "Okay, I'm running after the doctor's appointment." And I don't know what made me ask, but I'm like, "Where are you going?" They said, "Oh, Dr. Beadle. She's wonderful." And I was like, "Oh my God."
That's funny.
I'm like, "She's amazing." She said, "She has changed my life."
Oh, that's so exciting.
So yeah.
Yay.
Yeah. So clearly what you're doing is working.
Yeah. I love it. I love it.
Okay. So you have the chiropractic piece in it, which sounds like it's the first thing you address with people, because if the nervous system isn't in a good place, then it's hard to do anything else.
Yeah, it's whole health, right? So there's just not one part of the puzzle. Medicine tends to be kind of segmental, right? You have a liver problem, or you have a headache problem, or you have a back problem, but not very comprehensive usually. So we kind of try and put these pieces together. And so acupuncture and traditional Chinese medicine is amazing together with chiropractic, because it works on balancing qi and energy. And so, which is not like the nervous system, but it's kind of like the nervous system. It's all about balance. Mm-hmm. So if we balance the nervous system, then we balance our qi and energy, and we balance our nutrition.
Mm-hmm. That's huge.
Then we get our physiology and our energetics to be more inclusive, and our body starts to heal. So the whole point is getting it into healing mode as opposed to survival mode.
Right. So can you just, I kind of get that intuitively, but can you describe the difference that's happening within our bodies when we're in survival mode as opposed to healing mode?
So yeah, people, anxiety is like huge. Yeah. So many people have anxiety, especially with this pandemic. And, when they're in survival mode, their heart rate gets higher. You have increased heart rate, increased blood pressure. And their heart rate variability, which like some people might know about it, it's pretty trendy right now, but that's the ability for your cardiovascular system to be adaptable. And adaptability is so important for longevity, for health, for healing. And without the adaptability, then you're in survival mode.
So, okay, if my heart rate is not adaptable, that means it's kind of like running at a certain level the whole time. Right. Adaptability means like I can recover and I can slow it down at times. Then when it needs to speed up, it will speed up. Yeah.
So when a healthy heart rate variability means when you inhale, your heart rate gets faster. And when you exhale, your heart rate gets slower.
Oh, so it's not even about what we're doing actively. It's about just being.
Yes. Yeah. And so you can measure it. I've got an Oura ring, OURA, and that's really cool for measuring heart rate variability. I think the Apple Watch does it too. They have different technologies on how they measure it. But it really gives you an idea of what's your it gives you a window into your longevity, into your adaptability, into your health for long-term health. It's very cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really interesting that one piece can give you that much information.
Yes. When I did my master's degree at Columbia University in the 90s, we were studying heart rate variability. It was not trendy then. Nobody knew about it, but I've always been super interested in it. And I would always measure mine. I'd go to the doctor and I'd want my blood pressure to go down and I want my heart rate to go down. So I'd fudge it by doing my breathing exercises.
So you look healthy to the doctor.
Yeah, so I was like, I just like, well, everybody does that, don't they? I'm like, oh, well, no, nobody does that.
I do it, actually. I'm trying to be very calm when I'm getting my blood pressure taken.
There you go. But yeah, so these are windows into how healthy are you? What's your longevity look like? And so we have a scan that we do that measures heart rate variability. And so we have a picture of someone when they come in, be like, okay, we have your heart rate variability is not great. Your sympathetic nervous system's going on overdrive. Your vagus nerve is not healthy. We have a lot of work to do here. And this is how we can do it with chiropractic adjustments, acupuncture, breathing exercises, meditation. And, we have access to those sorts of things to help people figure out what it takes to get there. Mm-hmm. It's really neat. And people are now much more open to that than they used to be.
Much more open to kind of these non-medical, non-pill popping solutions to things, to kind of recognizing that we have more control over our bodies than we actually thought we did.
Yeah. Drugless solutions. I love it. Yeah. Uh-huh. And, but they're also, they hear, I guess, from social media or the news or podcasts or whatever, they've heard these things before. And when I mention it, it's not so foreign.
Right.
They're like, oh, I've heard of something like that. What does that even mean?
Right.
So they're more curious.
So I would imagine they've heard about it, but they've also probably know somebody who has changed some aspect of their life through some of these things.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So they also have role models, because it is much more common these days to hear about it and to see it and to see, real transformations in people.
Absolutely. And, that is a really good word, concept. People are transforming now.
Yeah. And it's not just weight loss. I mean, it's health. I mean, people are, glowing more, or, they just look healthier.
Right. Well, I think people are curious.
Yes.
And so when you ask more questions, then I think people get more empowered to do some things.
Right.
And that's a great, when people come in and ask questions, I'm so excited because there's so many things we could share and do. It's great.
Right. So do you, I imagine there are people who are also somewhat resistant.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Chiropractic is, some people are in, all in. There's many people who are not at all in.
Right.
People come in, I just want acupuncture. I just want chiropractic. I don't want those needles. It's, right. People tell me what they want. And I'm okay with that too. We have them where they're at.
Exactly.
And, no judgment. I've learned through, maybe hopefully being a healer that, I cannot be judgmental of people. I have to meet them where they are. And that is with love, and that is okay. If I start judging people, there's no healing going on.
No, judging and shaming, right? So people are coming into coming in to see somebody already, you're feeling very vulnerable.
Yes.
Right? Like, clearly there's something wrong with me and I'm asking for help, which is hard for us to do. Most people to do.
Yeah.
And so they're already feeling vulnerable. Mm-hmm. And then if they feel any sort of, judgment.
Yeah. Shame is a very low vibrational energy.
Oh.
And no, you can't heal with that.
No.
And there's a lot of that. Yeah.
Of course. I think when people know when they're not taking care of themselves, and they know when that leads to injuries in their bodies. And so, so there's a sense of I did this to myself. So I think it would be very hard to step in.
Yeah. And love is a very high vibrational energy. So, and I have to remind myself sometimes and start the morning with that, be like, oh, okay, these are my meditations for the day, loving my patients, loving who's coming in. And when I have a difficult patient, maybe, and be like, I want to be judgmental. I'm like, no, we don't do that.
Yes.
This person needs help and they need my love.
Right. Right. But I would also think it can be, you're a person too. And when they're kind of rejecting, the stuff that you are so passionate about and you believe 100%, that can be.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. And, that's when you learn to surrender. I love that. Surrendering is so free. It's like, okay, this is what I'll do. I love this person. And we just sit with it. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty cool too.
Yeah. So it sounds like there's really, you have a connection with each one of your patients, clients. I don't know what you call them. Patients. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You know them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so they probably feel very held by you, and that's a safe place, and that they, are, once you establish that foundation of love and acceptance, they're probably much more willing to try things that they wouldn't before.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because we do have a few things, we talked about this, the pulsed electromagnetic field therapy. It's called PEMF. Like, who's heard of that?
Right. Right. I mean, you might want to explain it for other people who hadn't heard it before, but it sounds a little bit bizarre,
Yeah. And so, this is part of my biohacking thing that I love. But so magnetic field therapy is, it was discovered in the 60s with the astronauts. So NASA figured it out. So when the astronauts would orbit around the Earth, they'd come back really sick. And so NASA's like, why? Mm-hmm. And so what really happens is the Earth's magnetic field heals us every day. And it is, and we used to walk around our bare feet. We used to sleep on the ground.
Right.
We weren't on concrete all the time. So we were earthing or grounding all the time. And so now we're not doing that so much.
No.
And, all the 4G, 5G, we've got all these, so much going on in our systems that our bodies have to heal from. And so this pulsed electromagnetic field therapy is the magnetic field recharges the cell membranes. So when our cells get sick, they're inflamed. They have, when we get older or we have injuries, they get inflamed. They lose their charge. And this is when my geeky physiology kicks in. So they have a charge, minus 20 millivolts. So then they don't have a permeability. The cell membrane loses its permeability. So then it doesn't hydrate and it doesn't detoxify. So then it really gets sick.
Okay. So
what the magnetic field does is it recharges the cell membrane, allows the permeability. Now the cell hydrates, it detoxifies. And so now that cell goes from looking like a grape or looking like a raisin, and then it hydrates like a grape. So we want the grape-like cells. The other thing is we have mitochondria. So a lot of people have heard of that. That's pretty trendy these days too. Yes. So the mitochondria is the motor of the cell, right? Kind of like a car needs gas. The mitochondria needs electrons. So the magnetic field, the PEMF, provides electrons for the mitochondria to make ATP, which is the energy of the cell. So now you've got energy to heal and energy to for you. So now you can do your stuff.
So the energy in the cell translates into just kind of energy in the body.
Yeah, it's really amazing.
So you've experienced this.
Yes. So I had my own little journey. I fell off my horse 8 years ago, landed on my head, hurt my neck, had a concussion. It was not fun.
No, it sounds awful.
Yeah. So it was a bad deal. Anyways, I don't recommend it.
Were you wearing a helmet?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So we were jumping and we were having this game. Anyways, chiropractic and acupuncture definitely helped with the pain. But I started getting migraines. I'd never had a migraine before. That was life-changing. They're awful. So, in bed for 3 days, throwing up type of migraines.
Oh.
And I was like, wow, I can't live like this. Became way more empathetic to my migraine sufferer patients.
Right. Once you experience it really changes things.
And so I was on a journey to figure out how to fix these migraines. And I came across this PEMF actually through the horse world because they do it on horses. And I went up to
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
Why would they do it on horses and not on people?
Yeah, well, they do it on both. But,
they do. Okay.
But the horse people spend a lot of money on their horses.
Okay, so it's a financial.
Yeah, it's a money thing. They're like, how can I get the best performance out of my $100,000 horse or $1 million horse or whatever? It starts big and it trickles down to us.
You're right.
And so I went up to Blowing Rock to the Blowing Rock Horse Show because there's a sales rep up there who had this machine, and so I was like, I'm sitting on a bale of hay. It was pouring rain out. We're like in a little covered spot, and I had these paddles on my neck and head, and I'm thumping. The thing is really bizarre feeling. It like thumps and tingles, and it's like makes a ticking sound like an MRI.
Oh, jeez.
And so I sat there on this bale of hay for an hour. And so then on my way home from Blowing Rock, I'm like, oh my gosh, my brain fog is just much better.
So it was immediate.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't like, oh, it's better. But
Right.
I mean, I could tell it made a change. And I was like, oh, this is cool. So I bought this thing. This thing's $30,000.
Get me one.
I'm like,
I'll take one.
I'm getting one. I mean, surely if it helps me, it's going to help somebody else. So I did it a lot, at least three hours a week for a while. And then, I still do it. I probably 200 or 300 hours at this point. I've had it for 2.5 years or almost 3 years. And so my migraines went from like 8 or 9 a year to, like for 3 days in bed throwing up kind of migraines to maybe 2 a year and not nearly as bad. So life-changing.
And you attribute that change to this?
Yeah, well, the chiropractic and acupuncture definitely helped. I was getting adjusted much more often. Mm-hmm. I get adjusted every week. I don't miss. I do acupuncture. Well, I do it to myself. I do that probably every week. And
so you can do acupuncture to yourself.
Yeah, I'm getting pretty good at it. And so it's fun. Yeah. And the PEMF was the kicker for the brain fog and the energy. It was after I started feeling better. Like I had during this whole process, I didn't want to ride my horse. I didn't want to go water skiing. I didn't want to ride a bicycle with my husband. And when I started feeling better and started doing it all again, he's like, I just thought you were getting old.
You're like, well, I am getting older, but that's not the reason I wasn't doing it.
So it was a really eye-opening because, people get old because they don't feel good.
Right.
And then they never recover.
Right. Or they have something going on that makes them, have not a lot of energy or something, and they just attribute it to getting old. So they just feel like, okay, well, this happens to everybody and it's just my time.
Right.
So they don't do anything to address it.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. And then, that just gets us into that longevity conversation with all of this stuff just really helps with longevity, anti-aging, and having great energy for a very long time.
Yeah. So which you're saying that we can, like it doesn't have to, we don't have to age like we assume we have to age.
Right. And, you probably see people like I get to see people their age and how they are doing, because I know everybody's date of birth,
right?
When they come in. And so you see some people who are 50, 60 who look amazing and do great. And there's lots of people who are doing terrible. And then you look at their history, bad diet, no exercise, high stress, and, not taking care of themselves. And I mean, it's shocking. And it doesn't have to be, it boils down to lifestyle and life choices.
Right. So they can, even at that age, 60, 65, 70, you can make significant changes.
Absolutely.
And alter the course of the rest of your life.
Sure. Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Which is exciting.
That's great news. Great news. Okay, so we kind of jumped a little bit over acupuncture.
Right.
So I know that is much more commonplace than it used to be. I think it's much more accepted, and people, while they may not understand it, they recognize that there are some definite benefits to it. Yeah. But will you kind of explain a little bit about how it works?
Yeah, sure. So acupuncture, I do what's called acupuncture in traditional Chinese medicine, and you may have seen it as TCM sometimes. So traditional Chinese medicine is about balancing qi and energy, balancing the body's function. So we have 12 main meridians, and the meridians or channels of energy are based on a soft interpretation or translation from Chinese. So we have these channels that we have a heart channel, lung channel, large intestine, stomach channels. And the reason they're named after organs is we have channels that go from our hands to our head, or chest to our hands to our heads to our ankles, and then back up to our chest. And it's all circular. It's kind of like electricity, right? You can't break the electric.
Right. Can you see these channels? Are they visible, or are they you just kind of know where they are?
You can palpate them. You can feel them.
Okay.
With experience. But, we learn as acupuncturists, we learn all the points. There's 360 main points. There's a lot more, but...
Wait, and let me just say, you have over 1,200 hours of experience with acupuncture. Like, I just want to be really clear that there's a kind of a spectrum of acupuncturists.
Training. Yeah. So the training for traditional Chinese medicine is at least 1,000 hours. I have about 1,200 hours of training. You can go to someone who does acupuncture or dry needling, and they usually have 50 or 100 hours of training. So they know how to find a point and stick a needle in. Mm-hmm. So it's really basic. Mm-hmm. And it can be dangerous if they don't understand. Like, you can't do certain needles. If you do needles too deep in the lung area, you can cause some lung puncturing.
Yikes. So
you want to go to someone who's experienced and really understands how it works.
Right.
And as far as someone who has 100 hours or 50 hours certainly doesn't understand traditional Chinese medicine, which is very complex, and it's but very, very effective. Yeah.
So I wanted to kind of get it out there that you don't want to just go to any acupuncturist. You want to definitely research their experience and their training.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Okay.
I appreciate
interrupted that. Yeah. Okay. So back to how it works.
So these channels, they go along our arms and legs and body, back, front, and so if you have some digestive issues, you can do some points on your hand. Like, a lot of people know the LI4, which is on between your thumb and your index finger. That's pretty common. That's for headaches, and that's for digestive issues. That's the large intestine point. Very powerful point.
And you can do acupressure? Like, I can just push it?
Yeah. But that helps with your large intestine. And it also helps with sinuses, because the points go all the way up to your face. So these points travel along our superficial skin loosely.
And again, you have to keep it kind of in lay terms so I can understand. So I appreciate that.
And then they travel deep into the organs, and that's why we can do points on our wrists or our ankles to treat all sorts of different things.
And so that when you stick a needle into it, what does that do?
So a point it's really interesting. You can actually find points with bioelectricity. So the resistance at a acupuncture point is less than the normal skin. So you can find it with modern technology.
Interesting.
So you don't have to just be an acupuncturist and palpate them.
But how do you like to do it?
Yeah, that's how I do it. Yeah. But you can actually find them with a machine, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
That they do exist in real life.
Right. So there is proof that it's there. Something other people have known for
3,000 years. Yeah. And we do a lot for anxiety, sinus allergies, we have what's called AcuBabies. So we do fertility.
That's how I had my second child.
That's exciting.
Mm-hmm. He would not be here if I hadn't gone to acupuncture.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It is. It was, I mean, when I went in, I was kind of like, I've tried a lot of stuff, a lot of shots and pills, and nothing was working. And I was like, I'm not doing any of that. I'm going to stop all of that and go to acupuncture. And
that's so awesome.
The result was, it was amazing.
Yeah.
I had 8 viable eggs.
Wow. That's great. That's so cool. Yeah.
So I only got 1 child, which is perfect.
Yes. All sorts of things. And we don't really do a treatment. We don't treat a problem necessarily. We find out where the blockage of chi, what is not functioning properly, where's the stagnation, where's the deficiency. So people come in with a problem, but I'm looking for the root cause, not the problem.
Right. But you will address the problem.
Right. Yeah. Which is, a little hard for people for that concept. Sometimes they want to get really, really detailed into their problem, but they don't really need the detail. Right. I need to find where the root problem is.
Right.
And so we do the scans. I do pulse diagnosis, tongue diagnosis, and we have to fix diets. We have to get the exercise going, work on stress. So that's a lifestyle thing too. So it's complex. It's fun though.
Well, it is. It is complex. And I would imagine it often feels like a lot for somebody who, kind of walks in and says, I have my neck hurts, and then they walk out, they're like, oh my gosh, wait a minute.
Right. And when your neck hurts, that's the vagus nerve, right? It's at the very top of your upper cervical spine. And so that's causing all sorts of other problems that they may or may not know about.
Right.
And
be connected.
Yeah. And so it's really eye-opening to be like, oh, this, they can really tell that this is helping, not just with the one thing that they came in with.
Yes. Yeah. So, what kind of diet do you recommend to people?
Yeah, it's so rough. So, we talked about this before, so people are so addicted to sugar and simple carbohydrates and fast food, processed foods. There's a part of the brain that's, sugar is so addictive. It's more addictive than heroin. That's why people struggle so much.
Yeah.
It's really hard. And then when they get to a metabolic state, their hormones that make you feel satiated are all mixed up. There's like ghrelin and there's a leptins that some people may have heard of, but these hormones really help people who have normal diets and normal weights, their hormones are working properly.
Okay, so if somebody's eating a lot of sugar, this throws off the hormones. It kind of confuses
the whole digestive system, the physiology of how the brain works and how, and that's why it's really challenging for people to start.
Right.
But once they do it for 2 weeks, say they can get rid of a lot of their sugars and simple carbs for 2 weeks, things start to balance out. And then the brain and their cravings are easier to manage.
So there's all right, so you say sugar is more addictive than heroin.
Yeah.
Is there, not that I've tried heroin, but from the movies I've seen, the part of heroin that's hard is that that it's physically, it hurts physically to stop, right? There's all these physical side effects of stopping. Is there?
I don't think you get the DTs or anything, but it's just, the cravings are pretty just intense.
And it's everywhere, right? Sugar is everywhere.
Right. And you have to eat. It's not like any addiction is easy, because none are, but you can stop
if you just
a drug or alcohol, right? And you can get rid of it. You have to eat.
Yes.
And so you have to figure out how to eat without eating the bad stuff. And, that's hard.
Okay, so this has me think. So I was a therapist for many years, and I worked a lot with kids and adolescents. And, when you're working with children, you very quickly realize that a big part of the work has to be with the family. Right. Because you spend an hour with a child and, address some things, and they go back to the system that created the symptoms to begin with.
Absolutely.
And if you don't address the family, then so that had me thinking about some of your patients, right? They are probably in systems,
correct,
in the environment that, they go out to eat all the time. Their pantries are filled with sugar cereal, and that's just the way. So you are addressing huge,
right. And that is super challenging. Like, a lot of people could address the pantry thing and going out, but it's their spouse that doesn't want to be on board.
Oh, absolutely.
Or the children don't do it, or won't do it. The parents say. We had this conversation before. I was like, well, it was a little easier for me. I was a single mom, and it was just my daughter and I. And if we just don't do that here.
Right.
And it's not like, no, you can't. It's like, we just don't do that.
It just doesn't happen in our house.
And friends come over and they want something, like, we just don't do that here. And they have a puzzled look on their face. What does that even mean?
Right. Like, they're trying to process what you're saying. Yeah. It's funny because my youngest son eats, so much sugar, and we do have it in the house. And that's my issue on some level, but how I'm trying, because now he's 15, so now what I'm trying to address is, just educating him.
Right.
Okay, recognize what you're doing to your body when you're putting all this sugar in.
Right.
This is what's happening.
Right. Well, now. I think for most people, you have to decide, you have to find out what motivates them.
Yes.
Is it sports? Is it the girls? Is it the whatever?
Right.
And this is you on sugar.
Right.
You want to be a quarterback. Well, you can't throw as far. Right. This is you on healthy proteins and vegetables, and look at your performance, and you can heal from injuries, or whatever it is. We have to put it into their perspective, and that's easier said than done, because you gotta find the right button.
Right, and they have to feel it, right? They have to recognize that. Okay, I want to be a great runner or whatever, but. Do I want to be a great runner that badly that I actually going to give up sugar?
Yeah.
So I think that's
So it is. And you, with your experience, working on the emotional part of things is challenging.
Well, you do it.
Yeah.
As you were talking before, I'm thinking you are, as well as doctor in chiropractic, and you're doing the mental health. You're doing counseling.
Yeah. And, we have so many people with anxiety and depression and brain fog these days. COVID, a lot of people got COVID, and they're having long COVID. Right. And a lot of the long COVID is the anxiety, depression, brain fog, fatigue. We're getting lots of that, more than ever. And I really do think it was from, a lot of it's from COVID, getting the illness.
So, okay. So you think that the illness that itself caused that, or do you think that people knew they had the illness and so then were feeling more anxious? And
yeah, no, I think that the getting COVID just really puts a lot of stress on the body, because it binds to these ACE2 receptors, causes a lot of cardiovascular issues. It just really, the immune system gets really attacked by it. And so, you're obviously, everyone knows this, the healthier you were, usually you do the better.
Right.
Coming out of it. And so what we're doing is we're helping people get there. We use the PEMF, and that helps rejuvenate those cells, because those cells are sick and inflamed. That helps with the brain fog, the depression, and obviously getting that nervous system functioning better, and then working on balancing chi and energy. So all of this helps with long COVID, and then getting their diet figured out. And but we see so much more anxiety, depression, brain fog than we ever have.
And so when somebody walks in, are you saying they come in with that's their presenting problem?
No, usually people don't come in for that. But, also isolation, just like everything else.
Right.
I mean, it's not, they didn't have to have COVID and still get that. But I think it's I'm calling it the new pandemic.
I know. I mean, I think the ripple effects from this are going to be felt for many years.
Yeah.
I don't think we've seen it yet. Okay, so sugar is a big thing.
Yeah.
Getting rid. Is there any kind of sugar that's okay?
So,
Fructose?
Local honey's great. That's really good for sinus and allergies. And really like doing some local honey and some warm water with maybe a little lemon, super great for you. And you can, the more complex the carbs, the better, meaning it just doesn't make your blood sugar get so high so quickly. Right. Just obviously everyone's heard this, the more leafy greens, the better.
Yep.
And, I'm trying to do minimal meats, not minimal, but minimize the meats, but having them local, grass-fed, humanely is really important to me as well. Humanely raised. We don't need all the meat that we have, but the meat that we do have should be really good quality. And then, for example, a grass-fed beef has omega-3s in it, like fish do.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah. Whereas grain-fed beef does not.
Okay.
It has saturated fats. Farm-raised fish does not have the omega-3s. They're fed corn and grains and stuff. Whereas wild-caught fish does. So, your source is super important if you care about how healthy it is, or even how humanely it's raised.
Right. But if you're eating salmon because you know that it's good for you, you want those omega-3s, then obviously you should be paying attention to where it's caught.
And if it doesn't say wild caught, it's going to be farm raised.
And then no omega-3s in this.
Rarely, yeah. We don't know exactly because there's so many different sources, but for the most part, if it's grain fed and corn fed and dead fish fed,
oh God,
it's not going to have omega-3s.
Yikes. All right.
Gotta love that one.
Yeah, that's something I maybe didn't want to know. So just to kind of a balanced diet, again, back to this balance, right? You need,
and balance seems boring, but boy, it feels so much better.
Oh, it definitely does. Yeah, I'll take a few spikes of excitement every once in a while, but definitely I like balance in my life.
Yeah, and cooking doesn't have to be that hard. I do these videos with 30 minutes to dinner, right?
Well, you do videos where?
They're in my kitchen, but I'm hoping to create some actual good videos.
But where are they posted? Where can we see them?
Oh, on Facebook. My Facebook is Elizabeth Beadle, or you can go to Dr. Elizabeth Beadle, Healing for Life, or on Instagram. I think I'm Beetlejuice1.
Oh, I like that.
Or Healing for Life _ I think is how it goes. But the whole point is, like, a lot of times I'll come home, I have no idea what I'm going to make for dinner. I'm like, what do I have in my fridge? I have some greens, I have some protein that's in the freezer, and I have, I don't know, maybe whatever. And I just pick them out, cut them up, throw and do, you can cook and start to finish 30 minutes, a super healthy meal, and it's not difficult. Because people struggle with figuring it out, getting a recipe, going to the grocery store. I'm like, I go to the grocery store once or twice, so I get my Bluebird Farms box with my vegetables. I have no idea what's in there. I'm like, what is this vegetable? I don't even know what it is.
Okay, so now I don't feel so bad because I'm like, I have no idea.
I go online. I'm like, okay, what is this vegetable? And a few ideas, and be like, I just chop it up and cook it. And
Well, I think the key part of that is that you have it in your fridge.
yes, so I don't really care what is in the fridge. I just like find something. And, you get, if it's greens, you can saute it in, grapeseed oil or avocado oil. Don't use olive oil to cook with because that's not good at high heats,
Not good in what way?
Because it creates free radicals and it doesn't work well for cooking.
Oh.
It's much better 250 to 250 degrees or less.
Wait, olive oil, you
Yes,
said?
yes.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. And so it's not good to cook high heat with olive oil.
That's not something I've known about.
Yeah,
I've cooked a lot.
So you want to use grapeseed oil or avocado oil. You can look at the grocery store. You'll see high heat oils.
Okay, I do. I have avocado oil at home, so I'll switch to that.
Much safer.
Good to know.
Yeah. So, you get those sort of little tidbits in my little videos, and so, you get some garlic and some oil, and you do your greens, and, it doesn't have to be hard. So, anyways, I try and help people just sort of get past that. How do I even do this? And I don't want to spend much time, and I'm tired.
Right. Right. Yeah. So you have those. When did you start those videos?
During COVID, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but I think I'm going to start doing some like better produced ones coming up. So we'll look for that.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I'll definitely. I follow you on Instagram, but I'm going to have to search the Facebook.
Yeah. So
for that too.
Cool. Yeah.
Okay. So eating well, obviously, is a big factor. What about sleep?
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, I struggled. I was like, I do all these things, but my sleep, I just go to bed too late. I get up too early. And what was really interesting, what I discovered was so I have this Aura ring, which measures your deep sleep and your REM sleep and your light sleep and your heart rate variability. And I've had that for a couple of years. And so it really helped me. I was like, okay, I'm going to bed earlier. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's coming up to 9. I've got to get ready, And so I made it more of a priority to get to sleep earlier.
Because what do you know about sleep that's motivating you to get more of it?
You've heard, you need 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night, right? And all of us were like, I can do 5 hours. I'm good. And it's not good.
No, and I know I'm not good. I know I am not good when I don't get enough sleep.
And so, you really want to get 2.5 hours of REM and deep sleep combined, at least every night. And so the interesting thing is I hadn't remembered a dream in years and learned at some point that if you don't remember your dreams, you're not getting enough REM sleep. You're not getting that third cycle of REM sleep. And I'm like,
That's really interesting.
So then I was like, then I paid attention. And I'm like, okay. Because I can see on my phone how much REM sleep did I get. And then I'm like, gosh, now I wake up remembering dreams because I'm getting to that third cycle.
So that piece of information has played out in...
Yeah, I noticed because I started paying attention. I'm
right.
like, because I was like, shoot, I never remember my dreams. So there's a reason for it.
I always thought I remembered my dreams because I woke up in the middle of them.
Right. But you wake up rested. You made it to that last cycle of REM sleep.
Right. I remember my dreams a lot, so maybe I'm getting enough sleep.
But anyways, we want to get 7 to 8 hours, and I still struggle getting that much, but I'm working on it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do have to say, so this podcast is sponsored by Incredible Edibles, and we sell some really good CBD, and I've been taking CBD consistently for, it's been a year now, and I am sleeping so much better.
Yeah, the CBD is great for you. I did a lot of research on CBD, and just because that's the endocannabinoid system,
Yes.
right? And so with that endocannabinoid system is part of our nervous system.
Yep.
And when the endocannabinoids, the CB1s and CB2s are getting enough
Yeah.
cannabinoids, then the body functions much better. The inflammation, sleep, it brings on the
Anxiety.
vagus nerve.
Oh, good. So it's all connected.
Because the acetylcholine is part of the vagus nerve, right? And so that's in that same synaptic bouton, if you remember those things. But anyways, it's great. CBD is super good for you. And, not everybody responds, right, to CBD.
Right.
And the reason is that either your body makes enough or, the reason CBD works is, one, your body doesn't make enough, or two, your receptors are not working well enough.
Right.
So you need more if they're not working well enough, or you need more if you're not making enough.
Right. Right. So there are some people who just don't feel any effect from the CBD.
Right. And it's usually because their system is sufficient enough, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. But most people are, their sympathetic nervous system's going 100 miles an hour and they're just spent.
Right. And I think, the most people are coming in because they're anxious, and they're looking for CBD to help with that.
Right. Back to the vagus nerve.
Yes.
And the parasympathetic nervous system. Super cool.
Yeah. So that's an aside anyway. But yeah, so I think that is really on a personal level. Help me with sleep and help me with joint pain.
Because of the inflammation.
Yes.
Yeah.
And just taking it consistently, I'm just not.
It's a great anti-inflammatory. Yeah.
And natural.
Natural. Our bodies make it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's super cool. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. And so kind of a third piece that I'm learning more and more about, what I'd love to hear your take on, is hydration and water, and kind of how our bodies need it, use it.
Right. If I could find a really good source, a spring water source, I'd be very excited. I'm not sure where we can find a really good spring water source. That would be ideal.
Because spring water has
the minerals, has the energy, right? That vibrational energy that comes from the earth. But the sources are really, it's hard. I haven't gone hog wild researching, but that would be the best. So, we do reverse osmosis type of water, which is good. But yeah, I'm not really happy with my sources of water.
But it's important to drink it.
Yes. Yeah. Half your body weight, and I feel badly for people who are overweight because they have a lot of water to drink.
That's a good point.
I'm like, whoa, they have to drink a lot more than I do.
And they probably don't.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just a good flushing, especially if someone's losing weight, you got to flush out all those toxins. Because when you lose fat cells, you lose a lot of toxins that goes into your bloodstream. And then people get headaches and anxiety and all sorts of things when they're losing weight because they're detoxing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a whole nother conversation because that's really interesting to me. So what you do generally, I think what you love to do is this kind of comprehensive overall health assessment and plan, and create a path for each individual's healing for life.
Right.
And and it's going to be individual because every person's individual, and something that works well on me may not work well on my friend, my sister,
Well, yes, we want to optimize. The healing for life is, for me, optimizing the body's potential, optimizing the body's performance. And it's really not that difficult. Everybody's nervous system has to work at its best potential. Everybody needs to have their chi and energy balanced. Like when you have deficiency of chi, or your kidney chi is deficient, you don't have enough water to put out the fire, is kind of a Chinese TCM type of language. Right. Right. And then you have misting of the mind, you get anxiety. So if you don't have balance of chi and energy, if you don't have, if you're too deficient in one part of your one organ system or one meridian or channel, then another system is fired up. And then you're going to have symptoms because of that. So getting balance of chi and energy, we just find out what's out of balance and we work on it. And then if people are inflamed or they have just, their cells are just not working well, and we can rejuvenate those cells. So it's not that complicated in theory. Like, everybody needs that.
Right.
We just have to beeline them into what's more appropriate for them.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And right. And so I guess what you're saying is that, that it's not, every person has their own central nervous system, their own, and everybody's built a little bit differently. But the general goal for each person.
Get to the root cause,
find the balance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you, is there one patient, one success story that really stands out for you that kind of makes you, I don't know. I get all teary when people when you see somebody put that work into that effort and really see a change.
Yeah. Yeah. There's, I'm trying to think of someone specifically, but there are lots of people who, they come in, headaches or migraines or terrible digestive issues. And, they've been to doctors and they haven't had the help. And, it's almost as simple as unlocking that blockage, getting to the root cause and just sort of switching the switch.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden the system starts to work. And then, and it's unpredictable. Some people who I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much going wrong. And then we flip that switch and they're doing amazing. It's really exciting.
I imagine.
And then some people who I think are going to be easy are not, so you can't judge it. You can't predict. You just, it's, yeah. And, it just is.
Yeah.
And I try not to hold on to a specific person or condition and just let it be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Which goes back to I think just kind of the way you are walking through life, just a state of acceptance and love and, non-judgment.
Yeah. Yeah. It's exciting.
It's exciting and it's wonderful. That's, I think what everybody is kind of searching for when they are looking for help, when they're reaching out for help, to find a place where they can feel held, but also trust that you're going to help them.
Right.
Which is what you exude. You have your passion, your knowledge, your, all that you bring to every patient you see.
Well, I appreciate that. I give you a lot of credit. I was just starting this podcast and just pulling people in it's hard. I find it's hard to be in your shoes where you're just discovering people and pulling it out of people and providing this for our community. It's really very healing.
Thank you. Well, I love it because I'm so curious, so, and I find, what you're doing, what other people are doing is wonderful, and I want to know about it. And so let's share it.
Yeah. Nice job. I love it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate you having me. This was wonderful.
So Dr. Elizabeth Beadle, Healing for Life, and you can find her on social media, Facebook, Instagram.
My webpage is www.drbeadle.com.
There you go. And yes, so thank you.